The story begins in the city of Philadelphia. Through an empty building, we see the entire city getting destroyed. There is fire everywhere, and piercing screams echo all around. Then the story suddenly shifts to the year 1988, where we are shown glimpses of the lives of three different people: a piano player, a bus driver, and a chef working in a hotel. All three are busy with their daily routines. Suddenly, blood starts coming out from every opening on their faces. Within a few seconds, all three collapse to the ground and die. At that time, a mysterious person wearing a blue hoodie is roaming around the city. Not far away, a police officer named Thomas wakes up. Seeing his pregnant wife sleeping, he goes to make food for her. While doing so, he hears on the news that a bus driver has lost control of his vehicle and crashed into several cars, creating chaos in the city. Thomas feeds his wife, says goodbye, and leaves for his shift. After some time, he meets his partner Maddox, and together they reach the site of the bus accident. The main detective assigned to the case is Holt, who also happens to be Thomas's brother-in-law. When Thomas checks the dead bus driver, he becomes terrified because blood is flowing from the driver's face and his brain appears almost melted. The cause of death is stated as excessive bleeding. Thomas also notices 3 hole-like marks on the driver's neck, but Holt dismisses them as birthmarks and ignores them. Soon, they receive news that 2 more people have been killed in the exact same way, and both of them also have 3 similar marks on the back of their necks. The officers go to see those bodies as well. Both victims died due to severe bleeding. Thomas begins to share his theory about the case, but Holt orders him to stay away from it, believing the case could help his own promotion. Later, Thomas and Maddox meet the doctor who performed the postmortems. When asked if anything unusual was found, the doctor explains that the marks on the necks are actually deep wounds, possibly reaching the neck bones. Something appears to have been injected into the victims' bodies through these wounds, an unstoppable element. However, strangely, even the forensic team is unable to identify what this substance is. Later, while Thomas and Maddox are eating, they receive information about another incident nearby. A woman has been attacked on the neck with a heavy object, and she also has 3 similar marks. However, she is still alive and has not started bleeding yet. The 2 officers rush to a nightclub where they meet the injured woman. During questioning, she reveals that the attacker was a black woman wearing a blue hoodie. She struck her neck with a metal tool. She also mentions that the attacker's left hand was injured and had dried blood on it. Just then, Holt arrives and interrupts the questioning, forcing the woman to repeat everything in detail. Suddenly, the woman collapses and dies. After this, the police begin arresting all black women matching the description, but the real killer remains free. The killer is shown attaching a strange device to a car. When a police officer returns to the area, she escapes. Later, Thomas and Maddox are driving when they encounter the same woman. She immediately runs away. They call for backup, and Holt orders every officer in the city to search for her. During the chase, Thomas's car crashes into a truck, forcing Thomas and Maddox to continue the pursuit on foot. Believing the woman is nearby, they split up to surround her. During the search, Thomas finds a strange device and keeps it with him. Meanwhile, Maddox captures the woman in a basement and orders her to surrender. But she is far from helpless. She brutally attacks Maddox, beats him, breaks his leg, and escapes. Hearing his partner's screams, Thomas arrives and chases the unknown woman. He finally corners her and orders her to turn around with her hands up. Suddenly, the story takes a shocking turn. The woman calls Thomas by his name and congratulates him on his unborn daughter. She also apologizes for breaking his partner's leg. Thomas is stunned, wondering how she knows so much about him. When he tries to arrest her, she easily overpowers him and handcuffs him to a bench using his own cuffs. Before leaving, she says, "We will meet again." As she turns to leave, Thomas attacks her using the same device she used to inject her victims. This causes her to lose balance, and she falls in front of an oncoming train, resulting in her death. The incident deeply affects Thomas. Before he can recover, he receives news that his wife has been hospitalized. He rushes there, where a colleague tells him that the attacker's fingerprints cannot be traced. A key was found on her, but the police have no idea what it unlocks. Even more shocking is the discovery that a bullet is lodged in her wrist, fired from Thomas's revolver, even though Thomas never fired his gun. A nurse interrupts to inform Thomas that his wife's condition is critical. He rushes to her side as she loses consciousness during labor. Doctors work frantically to save her. Soon, a nurse places a healthy baby girl in Thomas's arms. His joy instantly turns to grief when he learns that his wife did not survive. The story then jumps 9 years forward to 1997. Thomas's daughter Amy is now 9 years old. While Amy is preparing breakfast, the news plays on TV, showing people protesting and demanding justice for the incident that happened 9 years ago. The case has become a racial issue, with many claiming the woman was unarmed and that the police officer pushed her in front of the train instead of arresting her. Thomas, now a detective, wishes his daughter a happy birthday and gifts her a bracelet. They then visit his wife's grave, where Thomas notices fresh flowers, making him wonder who placed them there. Suddenly, Thomas receives a call that leaves him shocked. Murders have started happening again in the exact same way as 9 years ago. He immediately reaches the crime scene and meets Maddox, who still walks with a limp due to the old incident. Thomas asks Maddox if he placed flowers on his wife's grave, but Maddox denies it. They then arrive at a university classroom where a professor's dead body is found. He has the same 3 marks on his neck, and blood is flowing from his face. Soon, Holt, now a senior officer, reviews the security camera footage. Everyone is stunned because the killer looks exactly like the woman from 9 years ago, wearing the same clothes. Since that woman is believed to be dead, they assume it must be a copycat killer. Back at the police station, Thomas reopens the old case files, hoping to find a clue. He finds the mysterious key again and orders his team to investigate it. Meanwhile, more murders occur, putting immense pressure on the police and spreading fear among the public. While reviewing the footage closely, Thomas notices that the new killer's left hand is injured, just like the original woman's. He tells Maddox that this detail was never released to the public, so how could a copycat know? An officer then reports that the key belongs to an airplane model manufactured only 1 year ago. This shocks everyone. How could the woman have possessed this key 9 years earlier? They discover that within a 100-mile radius, only one airfield has this aircraft, so they decide to investigate. As Thomas and Maddox are about to leave, a scientist named Dr. Naveen Rao approaches them and says the case is connected to his research. He explains that the killer appears only on a specific occasion. 9 years ago, it was a blood moon, and today is also the same. The detectives dismiss his theory as nonsense and leave. Later, they reach the airfield. Thomas enters alone and meets the manager, showing him the woman's photo and asking if he has seen her before. The manager denies it but looks extremely nervous. Meanwhile, the woman is hiding behind a wall nearby. Thomas senses the manager's fear. That is why Thomas begins communicating by writing on paper, and he realizes that someone else is present there as well. As soon as Thomas reaches for his gun, the woman suddenly points a gun at him and says, "It's good to see you again." She then orders the manager to tie Thomas to a chair. Meanwhile, Thomas cleverly calls his friend standing outside, who overhears everything. The woman demands the plane key from the manager, and under pressure, he hands it over to her. As the manager secretly reaches for a hidden gun, the woman immediately shoots him and knocks him down. At that moment, the sound of police sirens can be heard approaching. Panicking, the woman takes Thomas hostage. Just then, Maddox enters the room, and without thinking, the woman shoots him straight in the forehead. The moment she realizes that the person she shot is Maddox, she begins to regret her actions. Thomas is completely shattered by this. However, the woman grabs him and forces him onto the plane, escaping before the police arrive. Officer Holt notices that his brother-in-law is also inside the plane, so he orders the police not to open fire. Later, the woman tells Thomas to stop chasing her and claims that everything she is doing is extremely important. She says that she returns every 9 years, on the same day, but only for a short time, and that no one can kill her. Thomas responds that he will never stop chasing her. Angered by this, the woman throws Thomas out of the plane. He falls into the ocean but somehow manages to reach the shore. There, he finds the burned wreckage of the plane, but the woman is nowhere to be seen. The next morning, Holt and his team arrive and desperately search for the killer. Thomas tells them not to waste their effort. The woman came from the future. Holt looks at him as if he has gone insane. Another 9 years pass, and the story reaches 2006. An aging Thomas is seen digging up the grave of a man named Harold Novak. He pulls out the skeleton and notices a mark on the neck bone. Thomas then returns to his car and resumes his investigation. From a newspaper clipping, he learns that Dr. Naveen Rao has been missing for a long time. The next morning, Thomas visits Harold's widow and introduces himself as a private investigator who wants to ask questions about her husband. The woman is shocked, saying her husband died 18 years ago, but she still allows Thomas inside. She shows him Harold's old files. Thomas learns that Harold believed white people were superior to everyone else and had started the real American movement. Using distorted interpretations of history books, Harold spread the message that we built this country, and the rest were brought here as slaves. How are they equal today? Thomas also discovers that Harold's former wife, Heather, was involved in this movement until their relationship ended. Thomas pays the widow some money and obtains a list of people who were connected to Harold. Later, after studying the files, Thomas realizes that all the other victims of the killer woman were also on this list. Shockingly, every victim was connected to Harold's political group. Thomas then goes to pick up his daughter Amy from school. It is her 18th birthday. It is revealed that Thomas is no longer a detective because he became too personally involved in the case and failed to focus on his daughter. As a result, Amy now lives with Holt's family. Thomas later meets Holt and tells him about another victim, Harold, whose death was officially labeled as a drug overdose. He shows Holt the list and explains that all the serial killer's victims are linked to the real American movement. Thomas tells Holt that the mysterious woman travels backward in time and that she did not truly die in 1997, in fact, she never died at all. He insists that she will return today and urges Holt to help him find Heather Russell. Holt dismisses Thomas's claims as nonsense and tells him to get his life together for the sake of his daughter, who misses her father deeply. As Holt leaves, Thomas approaches him with tears in his eyes, apologizing for his mistakes and saying that he needs help. Holt comforts him and promises to help in every way. They hug, and Holt leaves, but it is later revealed that Thomas's sadness was an act. He secretly steals Holt's bag. Later, Thomas calls the police station, impersonates Holt, and cleverly obtains Heather Russell's address. When he reaches the location, he is horrified to find a dead body lying there, its face covered in blood just like the previous victims. Suddenly, the killer appears. Thomas shoots her left hand, injuring it, but she escapes at high speed on a motorcycle. Thomas hijacks a passing truck and begins chasing her. After a long chase, Thomas enters a tunnel where the woman locks herself inside a time travel machine. Water begins filling the machine, and Thomas swears that they will meet again. Moments later, the woman disappears along with the device. When Thomas exits the tunnel, he is immediately arrested by the police and an enraged Holt. Thomas insists that he shot the woman's left hand just as it had been injured in previous timelines, proving that she travels through time. Holt refuses to believe him. Meanwhile, Dr. Naveen Rao watches everything from a distance. Once again, the story jumps 9 years forward to 2015. Dr. Naveen Rao is now working on a device called Isotope. He tests it on pigs, causing blood to pour from their noses, eyes, and ears until they die. He is thrilled with his success. Later, Naveen's assistant shows him a photograph of Thomas at the beach, the same place where the killer disappeared 9 years earlier. Naveen waits there eagerly for the killer's return. Around the same time, Thomas receives a voicemail from his daughter, telling him that she is about to become a mother and wants her father to be there with her during this moment. As Thomas reflects on this, he suddenly finds himself tied up in the back of a truck. It is revealed that Naveen has kidnapped him. Naveen tells Thomas that he is proud of the killer woman's mission and that he is working on an experiment she will use in the future. He explains that he does not want Thomas to kill her and ruin everything, so he must keep Thomas locked up for 3 days. Thomas argues that the woman is killing innocent people, but Naveen insists that all of this is necessary to prevent a catastrophic event, that the woman is actually saving humanity. As Naveen continues talking, Thomas cleverly frees himself and attacks him. Naveen loses control of the truck, and the vehicle crashes. Naveen becomes trapped beneath the vehicle, and Thomas takes advantage of the moment to escape. Meanwhile, the mysterious woman arrives once again with her time machine. She emerges from the tunnel and moves toward the beach, but she is shocked to see that Thomas is already there, aiming a gun at her. However, the woman, whose name is Raya, reveals a shocking truth. She says that she knows Thomas will not kill her, because he himself gave her this mission. She shows him a bracelet given to her by her mother. Thomas is stunned when he realizes it is the same bracelet he once gifted to Amy. At that moment, Thomas receives a devastating realization: he is Raya's grandfather. Raya is going to be born that very day from his daughter's womb. Thomas is overwhelmed with regret and says that he is sorry for killing her back in 1988. Thomas begs her to go back in time and stop all of this from happening. But Raya explains that everything has already happened and that time travel works only in one direction. It is not possible to keep going back repeatedly. She tells him that her mission always begins on this beach, on this day, and always ends with her death. Before leaving, Raya tells Thomas to go to his daughter and take care of her. She says that Amy needs her father. After saying this, Raya leaves. Thomas collapses onto the ground, crying uncontrollably with tears in his eyes. The story then shows glimpses of the future. At a place called Rao Technologies Institute, an elderly Naveen, now in a wheelchair, is seen handing the isotope device to Raya. In another major twist, it is revealed that the attack shown at the very beginning of the story was caused by the same radical group that Harold Novak had founded. The civil war that followed killed millions of people, turning humans into ruthless monsters driven by revenge. Raya's mission was to travel back in time and eliminate those individuals who would later strengthen this extremist group, in order to prevent a bomb blast scheduled for 2024, the event that had originally triggered the war. As soon as Raya completes her mission, we see the opening scene again, the same place where the story began. But this time, the city is not destroyed, proving that Raya has succeeded in her mission. The story then returns to 2015, where Thomas arrives at the hospital carrying flowers. At that very moment, Amy gives birth to Raya. Thomas lovingly holds Raya in his arms, knowing that this is the child who will one day decide the fate of the future. If you like the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.